In May 2021, my brother and I went backpacking and hiking in Grasslands National Park. Grasslands is actually two separate parks in southern Saskatchewan abutting the U.S. border. It took us 7 hours to drive there from Calgary to Val-Marie, where the park office is. The West Park is better for wildlife viewing, so that's where we went. There are 3 longer hiking trails ranging from 10 to 20 kilometers shown in yellow. They're called Bears Paw, Timber Gulch, and Broken Hills. There are 2 camping options. There's a big RV-style campground, or you can backpack in and random camp. For 2 people, the cost is about the same, but in my opinion, the backpacking option is much nicer. Rules for backpacking are that you can't have any source of flame, not even a stove, so you must bring food that can be eaten cold. You need to be 1 kilometer from the road and 1 kilometer off the trail. We hiked in on the Bears Paw Trail and then detoured off the trail for 1 kilometer into a coulee. You need to carry all your water. We had 10 liters of water, 4 liters of juice, and 2 to 3 beers a day each. I used the tribal trailer to haul the liquids and my gear. My brother used his backpack for his gear and some of the food. I hauled about 30 kilograms, 60 pounds, and he hauled about 15 kilograms or 30 pounds. It was easy terrain and not far, so it wasn't much effort. The trails are not well worn, so there are fiberglass wands to mark the way. Some of these have been knocked down by itchy bison, so you have to do some searching sometimes to find the trail. The weather was surprisingly cold for May. It was 0 degrees at night, and the wind was really strong, and maybe that's the reason why we didn't see any other people camping. And we didn't actually see anybody else on the hiking trails. The other thing that was interesting about the area is the animals are all very shy, and there was no problem with animals coming into our camping site and taking our food or doing any damage. The first day after setting up camp, we finished the Bears Paw hike, and the next morning we hiked back to the car, did a driving tour through the park, and then hiked the Broken Hills Trail. And that was basically our schedule. We would get up early in the morning, hike back to the car, do another hike, and then hike back to our campsite. There are lots of bison in the park, and from our experience, most of them ran away when we were anywhere close to them. But you do have to be careful. I filmed this bison from my car window using a 600 millimeter equivalent lens. Bison are much more reactive to people outside of a vehicle than they are people inside of a vehicle. The rule of thumb for bison when you're on foot is to use your thumb. You hold your thumb at arm's length. You should be able to completely cover the bison, or else you're too close. And that should make you about 100 to 200 meters away from the bison. This bison is losing its winter coat, and that's why it's scratching himself on. These are regular parking lot posts, but it kind of shows why the fiberglass posts are missing. One of the nicest things about the park is the abundance of songbirds. There are 8 large prairie dog colonies in the park, shown in orange on the park map. Prairie dogs they're called black-tailed prairie dogs. They're about 4 times larger than a Richardson ground squirrel or gopher, and they don't hibernate. They too are endangered. And another feature of the prairie dog colonies is that burrowing owls can be found there. Burrowing owls can't actually dig, so they occupy prairie dog holes. Unfortunately, we didn't see any, but they had been sighted this year. There are also numerous antelope in the park. At one point there were fewer than 100, but now thousands of them are there. Antelope can run at 100 kilometers an hour, and no North American predators are anywhere near that fast. But apparently at one time cheetahs lived in North America and later migrated to Africa and then became extinct in North America. From what I understand, antelopes are related to giraffe. This was the only porcupine we saw, and I think it's the fastest porcupine I've ever seen. This is the Broken Hills day hike. And this is the Timber Gulch day hike. This is the longest hike in the park, and it had the most difficult sections for route finding because of so many missing markers, but it really takes you back into sort of a wild area of the park, and it was, I guess, my favorite hike. The park is great fun, and the abundance of wildlife is really special. I do want to go back to hopefully spot a burrowing owl, and I'd also like to go later in the season when the days are shorter for some astrophotography. The park lies in a dark sky zone, and also I still want to visit the East Block.